Today, we dive into everything you need to know about hosting online summits, how to harness the power of organic list building, and why building relationships with your audience is the key to jumpstarting your growth. Next on Makin Bacon. Hey there, I'm Jason Logston, and this is Makin Bacon. We're all about helping you serve your fans, grow your income, and get the most out of your blog. Today's episode is brought to you by the Grow and Profit Online Summit. Grow and Profit Online, it's an amazing free event specifically designed for coaches, course creators, and online service providers to maximize your revenue and results with applicable information you can use now instead of fluff that doesn't actually make a difference for you. And I'm personally really excited to be involved in the summit for my first time. I'm going to be sharing my expertise on how publishing books can help grow your business. But I'm even more excited to learn from the 25 other amazing experts who's going to be sharing tons of great knowledge. It all kicks off on April 19th, so don't hesitate. Please check it out and sign up for free at makethatbacon.com/grow. Should be an amazing time, and we can come hang out and learn from all the experts together. Now, on to the show. As bloggers, we always hear how important it is to grow our email lists, especially because it's the only asset we actually own. But trying to figure out what the most effective ways to build your list are can be really difficult, especially without just relying on annoying pop-ups or costly Facebook ads. Luckily, today's guest is the perfect person to help us out. She is an online marketing strategist, list builder, and lead generation expert. She's also the creator of List Building 2.0, her own successful system of building your list through attraction and permission marketing. Leveraging over 15 years of marketing, communications, and branding experience for her clients, she firmly believes that if you live your life with passion and transparency, you will create lifelong success. Also, as an avid home cook, she spends her downtime whipping up neat meals or reading some trashy fiction for fun. I can't wait to learn from today's guest, list builder and lead generation expert, Jennie Wright. Jennie, welcome to Makin Bacon.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate it.
I'm really looking forward to diving into all the really cool things that you do. You have so much experience and a lot of expertise to share. But before we get started, I always like to ask, what is it like around your dinner table on a typical day?
Oh, the typical day is one of those coffee tables that rise up, so it like comes like table height, while sadly watching television, and me checking in to everybody to make sure they actually like the meal that I've prepared, because I actually get really concerned. I spend a lot of time trying to think up something really cool when I try and get some dinner going, and it's usually watching something funny, like reruns of The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, nice. I'm a Big Bang fan. That was a very good show. My wife and I normally eat at the couch as well, watching TV. It's a good, for us, that is our dinner table as well. We don't have the fancy rising coffee table, but
Oh, it isn't fancy. It's fun though. It's cute. It just pops up, and that way you're not leaning over. I have a bad back, so we had to have something. And I haven't eaten at a dining room table since pre-COVID times.
wow. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I'm not sure. I think maybe once or twice when I visited my parents in the last year and a half, and that's it. We have you can kind of see our raised island. That's the closest that we have to a dining table in our house. So
I love it.
it's the chef's table, if you will, if there was a
Mm-hmm.
fancy restaurant.
Exactly.
So we connected about your upcoming summit, the Grow and Profit Online Summit, that I'm going to be an expert on. There's a lot of other amazing people talking there. Can you share a little bit about what people can expect from the summit? Because I think it really applies to my audience, and I think they can get a lot out of it.
It really does. If you're into blogging and this is what you're trying to use to create your growth online, then your expectation, if you were to look at something like Grow and Profit Online, the actual event that I'm running, you're looking to generate leads, engage with those leads, and then monetize those leads, right? So we're going to learn from people on how to create those relationships online, what sort of list building activities we should be doing, how to use good copywriting, because that's a huge deal. You might be a great blogger, but are you good at writing high conversion title and taglines to get people to do the thing, right? To take the action. And we're looking at also things like organic growth, and we are taking a look at Facebook ads, but we're not looking at them in the normal way. We're looking at Facebook ads in terms of keeping as much money in your pocket as humanly possible and making the algorithm work for you. We're also looking at things like systemization. So it's a big pain in the butt if you're a blogger or if you're just trying to grow your business in general to have all these little things that you have to keep doing. So if we can systematize them and make them as automated as humanly possible, then we free up more of your time to participate more in your business and do the things that you actually love, and the creation side, which I'm sure everybody just is, that's their thing. So I'd rather get people into what they're supposed to be doing versus struggling with the things that they think they must do.
Yeah, most food bloggers I talk to aren't upset about having to write recipes or photograph recipes. It's everything that goes around it. And
Exactly.
they hear a lot about, needing to build a list and needing to, like all these minor things that are going around that they have to take care of and not be able to keep up with it. And I think they don't know how to do that. And I feel like you have a lot of experts that can show them how they can actually do that, as opposed to just hearing theoretically that they should do it, which is very valuable.
And that's what's different about this event. So instead of coming to an event and having people tell you that you should be doing the thing that you already know you need to do, instead I've built this so that you actually receive the information, the step-by-step. So every expert is actually doing a presentation where they're giving you a step-by-step. It's the 5 steps to the 3 things you must, and then they show you how to do it. It's not just like sitting in a university course and getting an overview. This is getting your hands dirty in the process. You'll be able to actually, if you participate in this, you'll be able to start, stop, pause, and start doing the things as they're actually being told to you, which I think is important, especially with social media. We have, I think, 2 social media experts who are talking about different aspects. One of them is a Clubhouse expert, and the other one is a social media in general person. And that's really cool because Clubhouse, what a great place. Like my sister-in-law is not a food blogger, but she loves to cook and she loves to talk to people, and she's a crafter. She's on Clubhouse all day long, participating in rooms that are specific to how to cook like this and what to do and getting recipes and connecting with people. And she's just loving it. Could you imagine if your audience, like you could connect with your audience in that way and know how to do it effectively? So those are just a couple things.
I've really enjoyed being on Clubhouse for the last month, 2 months maybe now. And it's been a great way to connect. I do it every Friday at noon with Megan Porta. She hosts a food blogger room. And so I help moderate that when I can. And it's been great just meeting the community and like forging those connections. And a lot of people don't understand like how to use Clubhouse or how to get into it. So having someone that like show you this is how you can get into it. There's a lot of companionship out there. And I feel like as a lot of online creators where we work alone and we don't always have peers to bounce things off of. So I think that alone is worth checking out just to kind of get a part of that ecosystem.
Exactly.
What expert are you most excited for out there? I don't want, I'm not teeing you up to say, well, for you, of course, Jason, I'm on your podcast. So besides me, obviously I'm great, but who are you really looking forward to that's speaking?
That does put me on the spot though, because who do I want to single out here? And not have somebody look at me later going, why didn't you mention my name? Right? So I have to be very careful. This is a loaded question, Jason.
You can give me like 2 or 3 if you want, or you can just say like, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just
No, there's a couple. Let me point out a few. So the ones that I'm really excited about are the ones that pertain a lot to my business, the things that are passionate for me at the moment versus not necessarily their expertise. So all of the experts have great expertise and I love them all. But there's a couple that speak to what I'm going through right now in my business that really connect with me because, again, that's where I am right now. One of them is Rachel Pereira. Rachel helps people find their team, okay? So she will get into your business, figure out what it is that you need right now. Do you need a VA? Do you need an OBM? Do you need, like, what do you need? And then she helps you find the person. Like that is cool for me, right? But more than that, she helps you find the person, she gets your business in order in terms of your vision, your values, what you need, what you shouldn't be doing. She gets you to do a time audit. Where are you wasting time? Where is time leaking from your day? Because who doesn't feel like time is leaking away from them all the time? And she helps you figure that out so that you can get more productive, but also have the right people in your team. So that for me is a big deal to have somebody like that in my business. So I'm really excited for Rachel. Another person that I'm really excited actually for is Linda Reed-Enever. Linda Reed-Enever is an idea strategist. She actually she's in Australia. She's amazing. And her and I have actually formed a bit of a friendship throughout this whole process because she's been checking on me. She's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? But one of the things that she talks about in the actual event is how to create, build, and monetize a successful Facebook group. Now, there's a lot of people who talk about Facebook groups, okay? But she talks about it in the way that is straight, true, blue, like just the really cool basics. And I like her because she's a bit of a hard ass, okay, like me. So she will actually say, get off your, you know what, and do the thing. Like, stop complaining, just go do the thing, and then come back to me and tell me and thank me later when it actually works for you. Like, I love that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, that approach works for me. I need somebody to drill me like that all the time, and I'm like a happy camper for my business. Right? So there's one more that I'm really excited about, and that is also Catherine Calhoun. So Catherine Calhoun is a Canadian, a fellow Canadian like me, and she is the techie stuff mentor. And what she does is she usually helps brand spanking new people build their businesses and understand the tech, right? The overwhelming tech stuff. But what she also tells people and shows people how to do is how to sell without feeling guilty and feeling bad, right? So she kind of taps into your little inner sales genius, whatever that is, and then she creates this stress-free selling technique. So if you're loving just creating the recipes and doing all the food, and you're like, why do I have to do all this other stuff? I don't want to do it. She can actually show you how to do it in a way that doesn't feel icky, and it makes it fun, and you kind of embrace it because she's coming from the same thing as everybody else. She's like, I just want to help the people, and I don't want to have to do the rest. So she actually shows you how to do it. So those are the people that sort of play into my personal business that I'm really excited about.
I think that's one of the fun things about hosting summits is bringing on people that you're also excited to learn about. I've done a food blogging summit and working on a few others. And then I do a monthly sous vide showcases for our sous vide association. And then there was an in-person 3-day conference 3 years ago. And now it's virtual conferences once a year for the ISVA. And it's the same thing. Like, you bring in these experts and you're like, I want to learn from you. And so I'm going to bring you in. Like, I get to pick the speakers that I want and I can learn from them.
It's ever so slightly selfish, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yep. So I think there's a lot of great people coming. People need to check that out. Go to makethatbacon.com/grow. It's free to sign up. It's going to be an amazing time. So check that out. And on the subject of like bringing on speakers for your own summit, like moving on from your summit, summits are a great way to, organically build your mailing list. Like, they're a great way that you can harness people. How do you recommend, like, an audience like mine could use a summit to move their business forward?
So many ways. So depending on the kind of person and the type of business that you might have, Jason, you have a lot of books, but you also do teaching, right? So you could create an online course, and you have one, I think, right? So yeah, so the summit could be a great way for you to connect with people that would want to buy your course in the future. So when we do a summit, we're not just doing a summit to build a list. We're doing it with an end goal in mind. So always think of the thing that you want to do at the very end. Perhaps you want to do 3-day in-person retreats, okay, when the world goes back to some sense of normalcy, right? Or maybe you live in Costa Rica and you have a location experience where people can come, right? And I know that, Costa Rica is one of those places where people can travel a little bit right now. So there's all different, you have to take a look at what your business is and how it might help, but look at your end goal in mind. And then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to grow a list of buyers, a list of really intrinsically like niched in people. So if your goal is to sell, perhaps it's your goal is to sell cookbooks, no problem. Then what you can do is you can take one of your cookbooks and or your style of cooking and turn it into a course, right? And then once you have that, then you build a summit around it. The other thing that you can do in terms of list building in that genre is to break it down and not have like a huge summit with 20 or 30 speakers, but do mini summits with 5 or 6 speakers. We call those panels, okay? And those could be more like a workshop, a 1 or 2 day workshop that are possibly even paid to attend or free to attend with a VIP upgrade. So there's a couple different ways that we can use this to benefit the audience in terms of list building and building up their list. The other thing that would be really, really great, and it's slightly outside of the summit realm, is 5-day challenges. A lot of the people that are listening to this podcast could benefit from doing a 5-day challenge. Okay, depending on your cooking style, depending on your food, what it is that you enjoy, the food style that you like to be in, what you're trying to build, then you could do a 5-day challenge around that. A 5-day raw vegan challenge, a 5-day sous vide challenge. I mean, I would do the sous vide challenge in a heartbeat because I would want to, you know what I mean? Like I get personal time with you, not personal, like personal, but I get FaceTime with you because you're live every single day for 5 days and you're showing me a different technique, or you're showing me a different dish, or you're showing me a different way, or the secrets or the tips, the things I can't get. And think about it this way. Our blogs are flat, right? It is, go buy the ingredients, combine ingredients, cook ingredients, present ingredients, right? Now you have a meal, congratulations. Or different styles and things like that. But it's flat. When we do something like a challenge, we bring it to life. We give it 3 dimensions. So now we can actually pull tips out. Here's my 5 best tips on how to, do. Here's my five best things to achieve ABC and XYZ. And we give it context and we bring it to life. And if you do that in a 5-day challenge, or even a 5-day, like a 5 expert panel, then you're going to see some really cool things happen. You're going to create engagement, relationships, raving fans, and whatever it is you're selling off the back end gets a heck of a lot easier.
Can you talk a little bit about what goes into a 5-day challenge? Like, I'm very familiar with the term, but it's one of those
Sure.
things that I've never dived into, and I'm sure a lot of my audience is in a similar boat. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about, like, how is it structured, or what's a typical format?
Sure, no problem. So I'm going to speak in broad terms here, obviously, but what I want you to create if you're going to create a challenge is you have to create what we call an arc of transformation. We're getting people coming in on day 1 and leaving on day 5. In that period of time, we need to create some sort of a transformation for them and whatever it is you're trying for them to achieve. So let's use an example of cooking with more whole foods as an example. Okay, we're going to cook with more whole foods, or we're going to go organic as an example. And we got to get them from we're eating processed foods and it's a convenience lifestyle to I'm okay and I am now way more experienced in being able to, cook and prepare my own organic meals, right? So we're getting them from one end to the other, and we create this arc of transformation. So we're not going in day 1 and saying, go into your pantries and dump everything in the garbage. We're going in on day 1 and we're transforming mindset. Okay. So the mindset around fast eating is convenience. I don't have to think about it. It's there in the fridge. I throw it in the microwave. I eat it. Yes, I feel like crap later and it, does terrible things to my body, but etc. So now we have to change their mindset and tell them, hey, if you want to live a happy, healthy life, do this. If you change this one thing, this is what you can achieve. And we create this arc of transformation by changing their mindset, telling them we're going to do things a little bit differently. And then we give them the step-by-step. So every day we're taking them a little bit further on the journey until on day 5, they're like, wow, look at this. I created, this beautiful dish and I feel accomplished. And yes, this is something that I can employ in my life going forward. Now, you might ask, but if I do that, they don't need me, which is hogwash. We're only showing them 5 days. What happens after 5 days is the next step. It's the course, it's the cookbook, it's the, online virtual classes, it's the monthly membership. It's those things that you can then put people into that makes sense, right? So a challenge is an amazing way to identify raving fans, get people hyped up about what it is that you do and how you do it, connect with them on a deeper level, build relationships, and sell your programs, products, and services. And a challenge is actually quicker to get up and running than a summit. A summit could take 4 to 6 months, depending on how many experts and the length and detail you go into. A challenge, you could have a challenge up and into promo and completed within a 5-week period. So
It is super fast.
Super fast, right? With results. So this is what you sort of have to look at, when we're creating what I call a list injection. Challenges create a list injection. It could be a little bit smaller, right? Depending on your ability on social media. If you have a good social media following, you could have quite the good the good challenge. Summits take a little bit longer, but they utilize the lists and social media following of other experts to help promote, and they in turn, register for your list, and ta-da, you've grown your list. So pick the one that feels right to you, but pick something and then start building that list.
Yeah, I like the concept of, one thing I harp on all the time is, like, start small. That it's, if you're hearing about hosting summits for the first time or challenges, like, I don't think either Jenny and I are saying, like, hey, you should do a 3-day summit as your first event ever. Like, do something small, do a 2-hour program, get 6 other bloggers out of your friends and put together, some
Mhm.
cooking videos like with them, and you can put something together pretty quickly and easily that is small. Like Jenny's saying, you can really dive in and do some of these challenges. Do, one challenge every other month for a year, and then
Mhm.
which one of those 6 resonated with your audience? Which one of those 6 was most well received? And then you can maybe start building a summit around that. Or maybe that's a good potential for a course that you can actually upsell. But you kind of get that feedback from your audience and not just thinking they're going to like this, maybe, and then spend 6 months putting out something that you're not sure that they will like.
Yes, there has to be proof of concept. So proof of concept is a really big deal. You don't want to spend 6 months building something and then have it kind of fall flat. So you can prove that concept earlier with something like a webinar, which is even easier than a challenge or even easier than a summit. You can put that together and have that up, running, and done in less than 4 weeks. So prove your concept first to see if there's interest. Poll your people. Do an entire blog asking people what they'd want to hear going forward or how you could support them, and ask them to vote. Those are great opportunities. Or even ask some of your followers if they'd have a 10-minute conversation with you so you could run an idea by them, and reward your raving fans by getting a little bit of FaceTime with you and then asking them those questions.
Everyone that signs up for my mailing list, the first email comes back and says, "Hey, please hit reply to this and tell me what's currently your biggest challenge in sous vide, or what's your biggest challenge with being a food blogger?" Because I want them to tell me, what are you struggling with, so I can solve that problem. And if you take someone's biggest challenge and you solve it, in most cases, they are happy to pay you to solve it. If you're providing more value than
Mhm.
you're charging, like, that's where you can get into not feeling sleazy when you're selling things, because you're like, you have a problem, I have a solution, I believe in my solution, it's going to solve your problem, people love it and are more than happy to pay for it.
Exactly.
And I love your concept of getting on the phone with them, having a conversation. My friend Lennis Perez is launching a service, and she knew her audience, she's in her audience, but she didn't quite know the specifics of the problems she was trying to solve. So her goal, which she just finished, was this year to sit down with 50 people in her target audience and have conversations one-on-one about what problems they're struggling with, and flesh out kind of those problems. They weren't sales calls, they weren't marketing calls, they were just having a conversation like we are to figure out what are they struggling with, so she could really, really specifically solve that problem. And she just got done with it and said it was the most valuable thing that she's done in her business ever, to get that insight into her audience.
Absolutely. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to the audience. If you're building it in a bubble, or you're building it, in a sheltered little thing where you're not actually connecting with your audience, how are you going to know if it's going to work? You have to really connect with them, and you have to connect with other people and see what they're doing as well, and then sort of go from there. It's so important to connect and understand what people's problems and their issues are. I've done the same thing that you're talking about. I didn't do 50 calls. I did about 19. And those 19 calls were transformative because the content that I was creating, the stuff that I was building out, wasn't exactly what they wanted. It was adjacent. And it was kind of like, yeah, it's interesting, but it's not exactly what I need. And once I found out what exactly people need, and then you go and build that thing, then people are like, yeah, okay, I need that. I'm in it. Let's go.
And a lot of people don't always know what they need either. So like having conversations about, like, having a poll or saying, like in my example, like, what is your biggest challenge? Some people might think it is this, but when you start talking to them and having that discussion, more often than not, it's actually something else. And a lot of times that problem is easier to solve than the one that they are struggling with.
Correct.
But if you don't dive in, you will never figure that out. And then you just are following keyword research to solve problems, basically.
Yeah, and keyword research isn't as reliable as some people think sometimes, because it just isn't. There's a lot of factors in there. It's so much better to get out and actually talk to people. Even if you don't like talking to people, talk to the people and find out what they need.
A common thread kind of going through, whether it's a summit or a challenge or a webinar, like, we're talking about getting in front of your audience
Mhm.
and kind of building up this personal relationship with them. I know you're a big proponent of building up personal relationships. Can you talk a little bit about why your audience being able to really get to know you a little bit more on some level is very helpful for moving your business forward?
For me personally, and also for people that I work with, people buy from people versus people buying from companies. Now, the only difference is that they buy from established brands that they know, right?
Mhm.
So do not let me loose in any sort of kitchen design store or any like oh my God, I haven't been shopping in so long, so I forget the names of the stores at this point, I swear.
It's so
But
long ago. A
it's
store?
been
What's that?
a store. I haven't gone in a store in so long. But don't let me loose in any kind of store like that because I'll go right for the brands that I really, really like and I will, grab them. But people buy from people, right? So it's important that your people understand who you are and then they can connect with you. Nobody wants to go to your Facebook profile or your business page or your LinkedIn or your IG account and just see continuous promo. They want to get to know you as a person. I did a post on my personal page on Facebook probably about a year and a half ago, and it has to do with the fact that I have a collection of wooden spoons. I'm left-handed, and I grew up in a household with 5 other right-handed people, and everything was for right-handed people. And there was nothing special for me except for a pair of scissors, okay? Everything was for the right-handed people, and the whole place was set up for right-handed people. And if you're a lefty working in a kitchen that is set up for righties, it is ridiculously painful sometimes. Like, it is just horrible. So my mom actually bought me my first wooden spoon from this thing called the One of a Kind Show and Sale. It's this artisan sale that happens around Christmas, perfect timing, and you get all these really cool crafts. So I got this wooden spoon. It was beautiful, and it had a little bit of a shape in the handle, so a left hand could hold it. It had just a little bit of a curve. I felt like I was on cloud 9. I had my own left-handed spoon. Nobody else used this thing because it was uncomfortable in their hand, and I got to use it. Over the years, I have collected quite the collection now. I have something like 20 wooden spoons. They're all lefty wooden spoons. They're all different kinds of woods and shapes and sizes. And I did this post on my profile page where I oiled my wooden spoons, okay, because they need care, right? Long story short, but they need care. I did this picture. I put it up on my Facebook profile. People went bananas. They just went absolutely crazy. I mean, there was like so many people commenting on that post. I still have people who scroll back and comment on that post because people wanted to get to know me, right? And up until that point, I think I was still kind of hiding behind the business a little bit, and I wasn't being, Jennie, right? Nobody knew that I loved to bake and cook. They just thought I was into marketing all the time. But now I do intermix my posts a little bit with the fact that I love to bake and cook. And I get people who were like, "Can you teach me how to bake bread?" Because my grandfather taught me how to bake bread when I was 6 years old. And I used to bake bread with him every single week and make homemade jams and all these kinds of things. And I've actually had clients who have paid me and said, "I'm paying you for this, but do you mind showing me that? And I'll pay you to show me how to do bread, like to make bread." I am not kidding. So people want to get to know you. They want to understand you. So not only should you be posting images and information about what it is that you're doing in your business, but show them the lighter side. If you love going to the pond and feeding the ducks, show that. If you love woodworking, show that. If you and your significant other are hanging out at a ski lodge, show that. Like, show your life so that people can connect to you. It doesn't have to be everything. I'm a very private person, but you don't have to show everything. If you don't want to show your kids, don't show your kids, but connect with people on a deeper level by showing them what your life is like and your interests and things like that. And then the last thing is, have a soapbox. People want to connect with people who have a thought, who have an opinion. And if you're just kind of like washy on everything and you're just like, "Yeah, that's great," and you don't actually stand for something, then people are going to see that. So if you stand on the fact that, when it comes to sous vide, that there is, one way and it's the only way, and this is how you do it. You use this machine, you use this kind of thermometer, you use this kind of stuff, then that's your soapbox, right? If you're into French provincial cooking and you believe that using Le Creuset, cookware is the only way to cook your casseroles, then you can get on your soapbox and talk about it, right? Pick something and be passionate and show that and connect people on a deeper level.
I think it was Tim Schmoyer that I first heard say he recommends like belief-based niches. That if you say I believe X, like that is similar to what you're saying. That gives you your soapbox. That like for my sous vide, like you can write about like sous vide is not a niche anymore. It was 12 years ago when I got
Sure.
started, but now it's huge. And so I have to have a point of view. I have to have a belief about it. I have to have a soapbox. And like
Mhm.
mine is anyone can cook sous vide. It's super easy. And that's not what some professional chefs want to hear. That's not what Michelin restaurants want to hear, you know, but like it's true. Like you can make sous vide super easy at home when you're a busy working parent with kids running around. Like it's a super convenient way to cook. And like that is my soapbox. And it allows me to have a point of view. And that also, like you're saying, informs like what can I share about myself?
Mhm.
Like a lot of times my dog walks through my podcast. And if it's my exploring sous vide one, no one cares because they're like, Jason is a home cook who uses sous vide at home and he has a life going on. And if I was a button up Michelin, star chef, like you're saying, like this is the only way to do sous vide in this manner, like that wouldn't fly. And that would be a part of kind of my business or my life that I might not want to share with my audience because it
Mhm.
doesn't fit my point of view. And so I like that approach of what you're talking about, having that soapbox and know what you stand for. And that will allow you and inform a lot of kind of the authenticity and the
Exactly.
extraneous post that you can kind of show and dive into.
Exactly. And if anybody can see the video of what we're talking about today, if you can see me, then you'll notice behind me I have a boatload of plants. So I have a background that's set up that for those of you who are just listening and can't see, I have a bookcase. In the bookcase are all business books. I have old cameras. I have pottery because those are things I love. On top of that are my plants. And I have a stuffed animal from the Muppets. Stuffed animal, right?
Awesome.
He is my he's my mascot because he's cool, he's fun, but he occasionally goes absolutely ape crap. And he's just, I think he's the best. So these are the kinds of things that when people get on and see me on video, they can, oh, I love your plants. Oh, I love this. I love that. So I've created that as something, and it's in my marketing, right? It's part of my marketing. So find the thing and connect with the thing and show that more often, and people will identify with you more deeply on a deeper connection. And if we can get that, then sales get a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, selling to someone that knows you and trusts you, right? It's trust
Mhm.
is the name of the game. I was meeting with my father-in-law last week and he was like, "Oh, what do you have planned for the sous vide conference?" And I was like, "Well, we have some speakers, we're still ironing it out." He was like, "Oh, like when are you starting to market it?" I'm like, "Well, we've started marketing it and
Mhm.
we're already made sales." And that's because our community, they're like, "We don't know what you're doing. We don't care. We know it's going to be great. We've gone to shows in the past. We've gone to your live events. Like we trust you that you're going to do something great." And like that is the ultimate trust that they're willing to commit to something in the future, basically sight unseen, because they trust what we do so much. And
Exactly.
it's not most of our community. Most of them are waiting to see, like, who are our big speakers and, who's going to be involved, and then they'll buy. But building up that trust with people makes that selling process just simple because you're like, me, I provide more value than I charge, and you want to be a part of this.
Mhm. If your dog is walking across your podcast half the time or across, your cooking demonstrations, people are going to be like, "Oh, what's his name?" And they'll connect with you, and you can start using that in your marketing. I have my co-host from my podcast System to Thrive, Allison Lex. She has 8 cats. 8 cats. And they're always in frame. Someplace, somehow they're in frame. They jump from a perch and they land on the back of her seat. They're like, they're just all over the place. And that's part of her marketing. She has a sign that says, "I'm a crazy cat lady," because she is. And by the way, everybody, they're rescues. Every single one of them is a rescue. That's what she does. She rescues, fosters, and then doesn't refoster or rehome. She keeps the fosters. So, but she's the person that people bring cats to, and that's just her, and that's wonderful. But the point being, that's part of her branding. So what's part of your branding? Plants are part of my thing. Cooking is part of my thing. Connecting with people on a deeper level is my thing, right? And I have my soapboxes, and I have a couple of them. So identify your soapboxes and get on those, and don't be afraid to talk about it and have an opinion, because when you have an opinion, people tend to rally around, right? Even people who may not agree with your opinion will still rally around because they're like, "I don't totally get it, but I like I like that they're talking about the thing, and I find it interesting to get this different point of view, therefore I'll stick around."
Yeah, I love that. It's, if you believe that there should be silverware made for left-handed people, like I don't relate to that, but I'm like, no, that makes sense. And the next person I run into that's left-handed, I'll be like, oh, you know what? You should talk to Jenny. She knows where to get the wooden spoons. Like you will stand out
Mhm.
versus someone that if you would have never shared that,
Yep.
that is what will jump out. And that's what, in my mind, someone could be known for, is that soapbox that they're on, is that thing that makes them stand out and is different from the other people, especially in our industry, that's posting a Olive Garden breadstick copycat recipe. Like
Absolutely.
your point of view is what makes you stand out.
If I was a food blogger, I would have a food blog literally called the left-handed cook or something, or something like that. Like I would push into that brand.
You can never, it's almost impossible to go too niche.
Yeah.
It's like the example I used in my presentation about the goats and trees calendar, that calendar just with pictures of goats in trees, and it's outsold several of my books, and they make tens of thousands of dollars a year selling the
Goats and
calendar.
trees.
Yeah.
Yep. Lean in.
Well, Jenny, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise. And I really appreciate you having me be a part of the Grow and Profit Summit. If you're still interested in that, you can go sign up for it, makethatbacon.com/grow. It's free to attend. It should be an amazing time. And if you want more on Jenny and the other things she does outside of her great summit, you can go to systemtothrive.com. Jenny, thank you so much for coming on, Making Bacon, and sharing your expertise. You have just such a great approach to building lists, to building audiences, and setting yourself up to sell in a manner that is authentic and isn't just icky feeling, which is hard for a lot of us bloggers, I think.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate it. This is something that I love talking about. I love people to connect and build those relationships and be authentic to who they are, but still be able to be a marketer. The two can be synonymous and not actually be things that drive people to extremes. So embrace who you are and go from there.
I love that. And thanks to everyone for listening. This has been Making Bacon. We're all about helping you serve your fans, grow your income, and get the most out of your blog. Until next time, I'm Jason Logston.